Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sprint Agile live show. Today we have Farnaz Vahab here, my friend, a great Agile coach, and the co-founder, co-creator of the Remote Agility Framework. We met like 3 years ago, about 2 or 3 years ago at ANZ. We were both working as an Agile coach. Welcome, Farnaz.
Good morning, Arash. Thanks for having me today. Yeah, as you said, I'm one of the co-creators, just be sure I'm not the co-founder. I'm one of the co-creators of Remote Agility Framework.
Great. Thank you, Farnaz. Thank you. Great. So let's start with a little bit about the Remote Agility Framework. What is it? Where did it come from? A bit of history, maybe.
Yes, Remote Agility Framework that sometimes people shorten it for RAF, came to life around 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago when pandemic started and we as a group of people who were working together got impacted by the remote work. As we would remember, especially in Melbourne, when it hit us, companies suddenly, they were in rush, let's have the employee back in the office. Some of them, they have the right tools in place to support them for the first few weeks and then think about the normal tasks. Some of them, they didn't have the right infrastructure. So there were a very huge rush at the global level, and no one was honestly was thinking that how are we supposed to work. Everyone was thinking about the digitality, what tools we should use, how we should communicate with each other, like your basic needs to set up, and then the other things comes to the picture. So when we were working at that time, we realized that how can we help people to work better in the remote setup? Some people had experience, but many people were new to this environment. And as all we know, there are some specific things in the remote or distributed environment that you need to be more conscious of them. Some of the practices emerges in a different way, like the way that we have in the Agile manifesto. Some things are important, but some things in the remote setup should be chosen over the other stuff. And when we just look around, we didn't find the right practice. It's not better to say that something that comprehensive enough to consider all the remote aspects. So we started putting the things that we believe are important in the remote setup together. And in that group, we had very experienced people. I think if you put the number of experience, it's more than 70, 80 years of experience. People have worked on different frameworks. They have experience on different industries. So it was a great opportunity to bring all those knowledge and experience in a consumable format, specifically designed for the remote environment, and to be shared with a bigger community, because we all were going through the pandemic, and we felt that urge of we have to help each other, we have to support each other to go through that. And
So,
that's
Farnaz,
what
did it start before the pandemic or after the pandemic?
it's after the pandemic. I think
After the
it's
pandemic.
around March, May that Andrew Blaine, the main founder, he came up with this idea of making it accessible, make it available for everyone around the globe, because we all were dealing with one big problem, remote work. And that's how it came to the live, and a group of us come together and we are working on this. And it has evolved a lot. So I can tell you more.
Yep, tell us. Sorry.
It has evolved a lot, and I think depending how our conversation go, I can talk about the RAF guides, how the community at this stage works. But that's the shortest story how RAF was born.
Okay, great. Now with remote work, so we got it, remote agility framework. What's it agility? Is it just remote work for everyone or remote work for only agile teams? And how does it fit together?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the way we've put it together, all the people were working on RAF, they had agility experience. But for people who have had the chance to work with RAF or has been exposed to RAF patterns, it is something that you can apply for any team. So you don't necessarily need to have an experience in the agile ways of working. I think the framework has designed that you can use it based on your needs and then based on your current ways of working. So it actually meets you where you are. So it doesn't put a particular path that you should be at the particular step of your journey in order to be used rough patterns and rough practices. But people who brought it together had a lot of agility
Mhm.
experience. That's what I think you kind of appear on the name. And as all we know, the agility brings lots of great stuff with itself. It's not about just being agile. There are so many other aspects needs to be considered and to bring agility to life.
Exactly, exactly. Now, before I ask my next question, I want to point out if any of our viewers are having any questions or comments, please put them in the comments and we will answer questions live. We are broadcasting over LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook at the same time. So please feel free to drop any questions if you have them. So, Farnaz, now my next question is: does it take into account uh, different time zones? Is it a global thing or is it
Yeah.
only one time zone?
So let me tell you a little bit about some of our patterns that we have, and I can answer that question in this way. Yeah, one of the things that we realized when people have started working from home or in general working remotely, they are dealing with very unique problems. And especially during the pandemic, those special problems are kind of become even more special. So we were not talking about distributed teams or remote teams. We were talking about employees who were working from home while they were doing, like kids were they doing online learning, and they were in a like a home environment. So in the remote agility framework, we have different layers of organization. So we have considered when you have a small system of work like a team, how when they come together, what are the essential needs, what are the things they need to consider in order to work together better and more effectively. And we have that layer and that structure for team of teams. When you have a larger system of work, those teams are coming together, they have a particular goal to achieve, how they need to be orchestrated and organized together in order to work in the remote environment more collaboratively. And we also have the enterprise layer, which is a collection of all the team of teams. So yes, time zone is one aspect of that. So when we use rough patterns at any layer, there are topics, there are perspectives we take into consideration. That, for example, when you bring a team together, what sort of flexibility you need to consider regarding the time zone to be able to efficient to work. Well, what is the team agreement? So if you are bringing people from across multiple time zone, how are they going to work together in the best possible way? What are the behaviors we want to accept in that? Because when you come from different time zone, I'm kind of expecting that you also come from different culture. You might come from different countries. So your ways of thinking, your culture indirectly will come to your workspace. So it's really important that we design a space that all these individuals can nourish and work together as a group, especially in the remote setup.
Great, great, absolutely. Now, I think it's a good timing to have a look at the framework. Now, I got it on the screen. I'll put it up. And one second, there we are. So this is the remote agility framework, right? So could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, these are those layers that, I touched that on the middle part. You can see the rough team of teams. On the right part, you can see the different teaming model that we have three main teaming model in remote agility framework. We have mission team, product team, and operation teams. And in that visual, you also can see the similarity and differences between those teams.
So
We have
correct me if I'm wrong. So operations team could be anything like business operations,
yes.
could be call center,
Yeah.
could be even production operations, like taking care of your servers and keeping the lights on.
Yeah,
Product
and
team, Yep. Sorry. Yep.
Yeah,
Carry on.
the things about operation teams, which is quite, I think, kind of highlighted, that they have the list of items, the backlogs activity to do, that they do it multiple times. So they are less creative comparing to other teams. So they need to be more efficient in their ways of working and delivering, and provide, like, so some of the support team can be a good example of operation teams as
Okay.
well. I say.
Great. Great. And product team, I assume it's more like those creative development teams, could be software or anything else, I suppose.
Yes.
And
Yes.
what's the mission team? Is it like a business services team to the client, something like that?
Yeah, mission teams are that they are inspired by entrepreneurs. So you put a group of people together that they are experimenting, they are innovating, they are not sure even what they are building and designing, whether it fits. Is it going to be a product? So they are at that stage of innovation. And I can say the RAF team, when we worked together, we were kind of a mission team. So we had a goal to achieve, and we worked together based on the problems that they were dealing to
Mhm.
come up with a solution that works. But we went through multiple iterations and design processes and experimentation to see if it fits the market, how we can help our customer, how can we solve those problems that we were dealing.
Okay. And I have a very important question. This is probably the most important question that I'll ask. You see, under the team of teams, we got an icon of a metal hand, like like a metal all hands review. What's that about? What's that icon? Do you have like some Metallica supporters?
We have a fun group of people, but I think for that one is that I probably is referring to the all hands, because in all hands activity, it's a planning that happens at the team level. And the beauty of the all hands meeting, or all hands ceremony, is that everyone gets involved, everyone's hands will be part of that process. So it's not about managers or leaders come up with a plan and advocate for that. So everyone get together, work together, think together, and plan for the upcoming cadence. It can be a quarter, it can be by a year, or what fits for that group of people. But everyone's thinking, everyone's knowledge and experience will be incorporated in that plans. And we have seen great commitment with the groups, and actually the all hands planning has been one of the most used patterns, especially when I was working at a consultancy. You could see there is a major need, major problem in the market, that especially when people started working in the remote setup, they were kind of missing that face-to-face interactions, coming together in a room. So the problem was how we can replicate an environment that we can bring those teams together, helping them to plan together, and also hear from their leaders, hear from their product owners, and be inspired by that, but put a delivery plan together. And that's kind of the hand icon kind of trying to replicate that concept. Yeah.
I suppose you did like in a big room style, and maybe with a mirror board with breakout rooms and things like that, right?
Yes, yeah. Rough framework is like we have this term that is tool and framework agnostic. So you can work on a particular framework, you can use a
Mm.
particular tool, and you can
As long
add
as you do it.
rough
So as
as
long
a
as you
layer
do,
on top of
yeah.
that. Yeah. For
As long
example,
as you
what?
do your all hands, you have all the people and encourage collaboration. Doesn't matter how you do it, which tool you use it to do it.
Yes, yes,
And I suppose with that Metallica symbol, you probably want some electric guitar played on the background and
yes.
just
Why
things
not?
like
Yes.
that. All right, so I'm also really particularly interested in that enterprise layer. So how does
Mhm.
that work in terms of
So
strategy?
we all know that it's really important to have a right strategy in place for all employees. That like that layer focused on that, how we put the strategy in place, and come up with a way to translate that strategy, that goals, to some deliverables, some values to our customers. So we have some patterns for formalizing or putting strategy together. We also have some patterns. I think this this visual not necessarily showing all of them, but how you can design an operational model for your enterprise or at any level, and also come up with an idea, like work with the leadership team to understand their vision for the future of the organization, for the future of the system that you are working, and come up with a way to translate it to the action. So it's a kind of series of activities that happen. Look at different perspective, look at the strategy of the company, look at the market, bring all the inputs together to help the organization, especially in the remote setup, be able to articulate their strategy and also come up with a plan to deliver values to their customers.
Great, great. Thank you. Now, we have a question. I missed the first few minutes of the presentation, so apologies if you've mentioned this already. I'm curious to know why we need another framework. Briefly, what's unique about this that people can't find anywhere else? And how material are the unique features?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. So I think that might be one of the first interaction, like people may say, oh, another framework, another thing. Well, what is new about that? And I said, like, RAF is the framework agnostic. Although we have the framework as a part of the naming of the RAF, but it's actually something that brings different perspective into place. So lots
So,
of material.
so Farnaz, sorry, I think good clarification here is this is not an agile framework, right?
Not
This is a
necessary.
remote working framework.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not aware of any other remote working frameworks available on the market.
Yeah, that's what we touched in the beginning. Like when the pandemic started, it was really hard to bring those good practices and patterns together in one place, and something specifically designed for the remote setup. I think that's something make RAF very unique in that way. It looks at the lenses and the perspective in the remote work or the hybrid work that helps you to help your teams and your systems to evolve in that environment. And having said that, I think there is a potential to use RAF in a face-to-face environment. We have used it in a face-to-face environment for some teams as well. But what I like about RAF is that those specific perspective you mentioned on the time zone, the importance of team agreements, the importance of our cadence and operation in the remote setup. What are the specific in the remote setup we need to consider when they design our operating model? So yes, it's not another agile framework coming to the picture, but the co-authors and co-designers of RAF have many years of experience in Lean, in Kanban, XP, lots of different frameworks. So they have that kind of hands-on experience by working in different industries, bringing into the remote setup. Okay, how we can adjust it, how we can adapt it in a way that works for people in the remote environment even better.
So let's say an organization is using Safe, an organization is using less Scrum, just vanilla or Kanban, or I don't know, Scrums or any of the many available agile frameworks. If they're working in a remote environment, they can apply these RAF patterns to ensure they're taking the best out of the framework.
Exactly. You're becoming a RAF person. Arash,
Yep. Literally one of the things which got me initially when I had a look at the RAF, which got me super interested in it, was the idea of the virtual Obeya. That
yes.
really caught my attention. And let me bring that slide up. And do you want to tell us a bit more about that one?
Yes. Yeah, I think Obeya by itself is not a new thing, but I think that again, it fits in that criteria in the remote setup. How can we provide that level of transparency across the
What is
organization?
an Obeya?
Pardon, sorry, I didn't hear.
What is an Obeya? What's Obeya?
Obeya is a I think Japanese word for, if I'm not wrong, it's about the room or space or physical space. I remember before before COVID, we had the rooms, we called them Obeya room, or many years ago, maybe around like 10, 15 years ago, they were called as war room. So people get together in a room, they have a level of visualizations, and all the information that you need for making decisions for your system of work kind of connected together. So it brings a level of transparency and flow of information that you can decide, okay, how we should prioritize, how we should plan. I have worked in many organizations, but some of the places that kind of resonated with me, like when I was working at REA, like if you go to the different areas of that organization, you can see all these Kanban boards for every teams, but there was a room that kind of shows how those teams are connected together and how their main goals and objectives at a higher level kind of aligns and kind of cascades through all the teams to be able to deliver together. So this
That's
virtual Obeya is kind of brings all different parts together, and as you can see, it have different components in it. So you can see the strategy part that we touched. It comes to this room. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, that's
You have,
okay. I want to ask the same thing. So, assuming your room has four walls, four mondos, right? Japanese,
yeah,
I suppose it's Japanese for a wall. You get your strategy. I mean, this is brilliant because it's not just about your flow of work and Kanban and things like that. Yes, that's the work mondo is one of your walls, but you absolutely need to have your strategy. How does strategy translate to the work?
and
And then the
executed by
data.
your team.
How are you measuring the benefit realization as we're delivering value? Are we getting the data, the benefits that we want? And finally, which is equally as important, is culture. How are people feeling? Are we going up? Are we going down? Are we feeling good? Are we
Yeah.
feeling bad? What's happening with our culture, right?
And bringing meanings to the data and insight. I know all in any organization they have different level of reporting and different level of metrics, but I think the beauty of the virtual Obeya is that bringing those data connections to making decisions. And
Yes.
and kind of asking that we need a decision about this, what data is available, what do we have to support us to making that decision, and make that decision making mechanism is autonomous process. So it's not just only one person's job. Kind of having that conversation, giving the teams, a team of teams, autonomy to make decision for some areas of the work, and kind of be transparent about that. What is our decision making process, and what do we can and what
Mhm.
are the constraints that we have, what are the constraints that we should respect, what are the constraints that we are more flexible, we give autonomy to our teams to challenge them. So that kind of virtual way of bring all of these together in a meaningful format. And again, in the remote setup, it's really important to have access to this information because we are not in the same environment anymore. We are not working in the same workplace. So we are at our homes or scattered offices around the world. And having that virtual Obeya helps us even to connect better together and be aligned with the organization that we are working for as well.
Absolutely. I think that's super important and really essential. Okay, we're coming to an end of our time. Are there any final thoughts, Farnaz, you want to share with people?
Yeah, as you see, I'm very passionate about it. I love working on it. And we have a great community that we have built together. And in that community, we have people around the globe. If you're interested about RAF, please navigate to RAF website. If you would like to become a RAF guide, there are opportunities around the globe to get involved. And what I like about the community brings people together, and we have an amazing opportunity to share and learn from each other. We have people from US, from Europe, from Asia. So I think that's one of the things I like about RAF. The level of diversity we have there is amazing.
Great. Thank you so much, Farnaz. Now, finally, we have a question about, are these sessions being recorded? Absolutely. Yes. It's all on YouTube. So there's a link in description right now, wherever you're looking at this video from, to the Sprint Agile YouTube channel. Please subscribe. The video will be there, and all the other videos, of course, will be there, and you'll get a notification once new videos are uploaded. Thank you so much, Farnaz. It
Oh,
was such
thank
a
you so
pleasure
much for
having
having
you.
me. Yeah, likewise.
Great. And thank you so much, everyone, for watching and listening to us having this conversation.
Have a great day, everyone.